Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't wanna miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.
All right, what's good, everyone? Welcome to another Livewire Sports Media Update. All right, so I have a little update on White. She was on this podcast not too long ago. She was talking about Caitlin Clark, the expectations for the team, uh, um, and what she want the team to look like going forward. She definitely explains in depth what her relationship with Caitlin Clark. She understands it. Um, she was on this podcast called Coaching You. Um, and the gentleman, I don't, I guess he didn't give his name. Let me double check. Yeah, Br- um, Noah Basketball, Brandon Sure, and he went in details about him coaching Michael Jordan and so forth and so on. So Stephanie White, she gives a detailed explanation about Caitlin Clark, how she's going to help her navigate, going into a second season, knowing that she has the weight of the world on her shoulder, and how her other coaches is going to help impact her too, as well as the team in whole. Then she also gave a detailed explanation about what the team will look like, how she want the team constructed, and she gave a comparison of Connecticut and Indiana. So take a listen to the first clip.
You know, I've coached Michael Jordan, I coached Isaiah, I coached Dominique Wilkins. I mean, and then with the Dream Team, we had all of them.
Right.
She's of that caliber in the women's game, which is of the highest quality. I love the women's game. What's your approach when you're coaching greatness like that?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, just talking basketball, right? Just having general basketball conversations about what she's watching, what she likes, what are some of the things that what are some of her thoughts from, not just what the Indiana Fever have done, but from the game of basketball in general. I started watching Caitlin Clark when she was in the 8th grade when I was at Vanderbilt.
How about that?
And then I called a lot of her games in college when she was at Iowa. And so I've really watched her continue to learn and grow, and have great relationships with her college coaches, and had multiple conversations with them throughout the course of her career about what the next steps would be, right? And what the next level would be. And she's hungry to grow and hungry to get better. And so number one, again, that two-way communication. It's been a long time since I've played. So players that are on the floor, they know, right? Like they get a sense, they get a feel of what's working, what's not. My first conversation with her about X's and O's the other day, I was just like, okay, well, how do you want to improve? Like, what are some of the things that you want to improve on? And then we'll talk about how we want to do that. And then I talked to her about how I think we can use her to help her be more efficient, help her be more effective, to help our team be better in general. She's a great player. She's a high IQ player. She adjusted really quickly to this league. Unbelievably quick to this league. And now it's about becoming not just a great player, but becoming a great leader for this team, so that we can win not just a championship, but championships. And what does that look like? And for me too, just as someone who's been a part of this league for 25 years, who's been a part of the Indiana Fever franchise, just being there to help her navigate some of the things that she's navigating. I don't think that any one of us can really probably understand, what she goes through on a daily basis. She carries a heavy load, right? With our league, and with her abilities, certainly. But where we are from this tipping point in the WNBA, and from popularity, that, she's like Taylor Swift 2.0. And so just being someone, who's been a player in this league, who's navigated, some of the things, not even close to the scale that she is, but just being a resource, for her as well. And it's going to help too, because we'll have former players on our staff that can communicate with her from a basketball standpoint. We can hit her from a lot of different areas.
Good.
But I also feel like, we see the game the same way. We both love the game. We're both competitors. And so I think it's going to be a smooth transition. And I'm really looking forward.
All right, so you listened to that first part, what Stephanie White had to say, and the most key point that I took, there's several key points, but the one key point that I took, she did her homework on Caitlin Clark, not just knowing Caitlin Clark, not just calling her games, not knowing her from back in AAU when she was AAU when she was 8 years old, but she did her research. She talked to her other coaches. That's where when you coaching a generational talent like that, a great player like that, you have to do extensive research. You have to make sure that you cross your T's, dot your I's when you're dealing with a person like that. That same thing with Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, LeBron James. You got to talk to they former players, former coaches to see how this person was back then. Yeah, you can watch them from afar. You can see how they play in the games, but getting to know the person um, per se is something that a coach should does. And I don't think Chrissy Size did that last year with Caitlin Clark. I think Chrissy Size wanted to do it her way. She didn't care about where Caitlin Clark came from. She didn't care who coached Caitlin Clark. She wanted to make Caitlin Clark who she wanted Caitlin Clark to be, and not allowing Caitlin Clark to be Caitlin Clark. What made Caitlin Clark as this great athlete, this great talent that she had to fall in her lap. And see, like it was different when Leo Boston came in. Leo Boston was a, a big. So therefore it was easy to construct how you want your big person to play. But when you have a person like Caitlin Clark that's a facilitator and a scorer, you can't control that. You got to let that person free fall. But you could put navigation systems in place for Caitlin Clark to navigate through, make the game a little bit easy for her. And Chrissy Sides didn't do that for Caitlin Clark when she came in. She tried everything impossible to go against what who Caitlin was. She tried to make her take short twos instead of long threes. She tried to make her a 3-point shooter just to stand in the corner and everything and allow Erica Wheeler or whoever to facilitate the ball for her. That's not Caitlin's game. Caitlin has to have the control of the game in her hand. She got to be the one that facilitates. She's got to be the one navigate to the team. She got to make sure the team is put in better position. And that's what Stephanie Wright was alluding to right there, talking about leadership, how she could be a better leader, how she could be able to, bring the team around her. You've seen the team galvanize around her in the second half of the season. And that's something very, very important. And Stephanie White also pointed out that they both on the same page. They see this game the same way. That's another important part of when you coaching a talent like Caitlin Clark. You have to be on the same page with that person. Because if that person has a high IQ, they're going to see the game totally different from what your coach seen it. And that's what something that we see many times on the sideline when Caitlin Clark and Chrissy Sides was going at it. Caitlin Clark was seeing things on the floor. Chrissy Sides, if you look at Chrissy Sides when Caitlin was talking to her, Chrissy Sides looked confused. She looked completely confused because she didn't know what Caitlin Clark was showing her. And then when Caitlin Clark had to navigate it through the thing, she was like, okay, this is what it is. So you have to have a coach on the same page and everything like that because it makes perfect sense. And that's why I felt like when Caitlin leaving Lisa Bluder and going to Chrissy Sides, it was never going to work. It was going to be either Chrissy Sides or Caitlin Clark. And we already know that the NFP was not going to lose Caitlin Clark and Chrissy Sides had to go. And we already seen it from everybody. You can tell in the first interaction of Caitlin Clark and Stephanie White when they played Connecticut, how they was talking to each other because Stephanie White knows. She sees what Caitlin Clark sees. That's why she was able to construct around Caitlin Clark, be able to take Caitlin Clark out of some of her games, the first 3 games of the season. Now, the second part of this clip is going to show you what Stephanie White was talking about, how they want the team to run, they want the team to be fast paced. Is a little bit different from what she taught over there in Connecticut. Take a listen.
most, pace. One of the downfalls of having, a veteran team like we had in Connecticut was we weren't very fast. We didn't play very fast. One of the great things about Indiana is they love to play fast, right? So, what you want to play, I want to play with great pace. It's too hard in our league, and defenses are too good to allow them to get set, to allow them to be able to predetermine what you're going to do. So I also want our players to use their instincts and to play free. We want to make plays, not run plays, right? We want to have sets that give us certain spacing that we want, depending upon our rotations, who's on the floor, who we want to attack, what matchups we want to get to. How can we manipulate them? So we'll have certain play calls that just give us space to operate. And then whichever play we make, whichever pass we make determines, one of three actions that our players can read from. And so really giving them the freedom to play within a system, to get to the matchups and really challenging them to find the matchups, the reads, the shots that we want. And I think that that's going to be the next step for a young team. And for a young team, sometimes you need it really structured. Sometimes you need to know what's coming. Sometimes you need to know exactly who's going to get the ball and when. Well, good defenses are going to take advantage of that right away, and you're going to be limited. So the goal for us is to put them in positions to make plays and allow them to do what they do best. So that's the simple version of what the philosophy is on the offensive end.
All right, you hear that. And guess what? The number one key that she said, limited. Because defense is going to take whatever you do best away from you, and it's going to make you limited. Again, we go back to the Indiana Fever this past season. Early on, they blitzed Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark was the most blitzed person in the league. But guess what? Chrissy Sides didn't know how to handle that. She didn't know how to navigate to get Caitlin Clark free at times. She didn't know how to put another ball handler on the floor to help Caitlin a little bit. Excuse me. No matter if it was Wheeler or Grace Berger or Chrissy Wallace, you needed another person to take where if Caitlin's getting blitzed like that, you need to have somebody take the ball out of Caitlin, get the ball from Caitlin, reset the offense, then move the ball back to Caitlin. That never happened. When Caitlin gave up the ball, everybody took off and did their own thing, and then Caitlin was sitting in the corner waiting for the ball or trying to come back to get the ball, and they would never pass the ball to her. Like again, I said in the second half of the season, it showed that Caitlin Clark was able to flow a little bit better because there were certain things that changed. They brought in certain personnel to help Chrissy Sides navigate whatever she was doing with the team. So my thing is this here is that Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark has been having conversations, and that's the number one great thing that you could have. Have them conversations. Understand what your player is looking at, how your player wants to play, how your player wants to see the offense run. Because and it's all about building that team the right way, because you have to have that. Even though Kelsey's out there in China balling, but you got to have a system to construct Kelsey in a certain way, because there was times in the beginning of the season and a little bit in the second half where Kelsey would go back to reverting back to her old ways, how she was playing in the first half of the season. You need to be able to have Kelsey play a certain way, and Leo play a certain way, Lexi play a certain way. Caitlin Clark is the navigation system, because the system is pretty much Caitlin Clark's system. But they have to put a system in place to make it flow a little bit better, where you can put a system to add to what Caitlin does best to navigate everything in there. And that's what I think Stephanie White and everybody else is going to bring to the table. And I think this team is going to come out. I think this team is going to start the season out like a spark plug. They're going to be running teams. They're going to run teams. You already heard about the coach over there in the LA Sparks, where she already talked about running, gunning, putting up points. So you already know that's one team in the league that's going to play that way. You understand that the Dallas Wings play that way. The Dallas Plains likes to run also. So you got teams in the league that's like the run. So you're gonna have to be able to have the offensive power to be able to slow them, outslow them, and the defensive prowess to shut them down when you need to create more turnovers, more fast break points, more efficient scoring and stuff like that. So I do love the detail that Stephanie White has laid out right there because it's going to extend Caitlin Clark in the second level to MVP status, where this team is going to shoot out the gate like a rocket. Now, my thing is, what pieces they're going to put together to add to this team, it's going to be remain to be seen. But until then, we already know what to look for. So tell me your thoughts, what Stephanie White had to say, how you think the team will be constructed. Me personally, I think the team is going to be one of the fastest teams in the league. I think this team is going to be one of the great defensive teams. I think this team could be a top 5 defensive team because you always got to use their strengths to their weakness. I mean, their weakness to their strength. Well, strength to their weakness and use their weakness to make it a strength. That's what I'm gonna say. Use their weakness to make it a strength, and then make this not just an individual, not to make this an individual a defensive thing, but make it more of a collective team thing where you could have teams blitzing, collapsing on certain players. You know what I'm saying? So it's going to be great to see how this philosophy takes place with Stephanie White and Caitlin Clark going into year 2 for Caitlin. But I don't have no negative impact on it. I think Stephanie White is probably one of the best coaches in the league, and she knows her stuff. You know, we seen her work, we seen her background, we have heard her talk, we know what she's about. And just to have Caitlin Clark to have a coach like that that's on the same page with her is going to be phenomenal. You know, it's almost like how Chrissy Sides was Doug Collins, like how Doug Collins was with the Chicago Bulls. He could only get them to certain points. But then when they brought in Phil Jackson, bam, and they add certain pieces to the team, you saw the team took off. And that's the same thing I see with the Indiana Fever. You get a female Doug Collins, Chrissy Sides away. You bring in a Phil Jackson type person, Stephanie White. You add a couple more pieces, and this team will take off. So tell me what you think. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Hit that notification bell anytime I drop a hardcore video. But this is your boy, Live Wire Sports Media, and I'm out.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live Wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.